Step one, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step two, get some good, some food in you. Step three, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step four, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge and financial freedom. Today, I've only got one headline. There's been a lot of price action. I felt like we could spend more time looking at some assets this morning instead of going over some news, because we all know what the news is. The news is all to the downside. It's all about the tariffs. Everyone's worried, and we'll kind of dive into it and see if there's reason to be worried. But for now, it looks like continued downside, and we'll get into that in just a second. Oop, wrong button there. Let me push the right button. Got that stock heat map all pulled up for you. We're seeing some continued downside. We did see a little bit of buying pressure step in, because here, when I first opened up the charts, we saw things down 5% in the pre-market. Right now, we have seen a little bit of a slow off. Apple's down at 2.49% in the pre-market. It was sitting down over 5% just about an hour ago. We see Nvidia sitting down 2.82. We've got Berkshire Hathaway down 2%. We've got Amazon down 2.47 in the pre-market so far. We've got Eli Lilly down 2.55. ExxonMobil sitting down at 2.91. We've got Tesla sitting down 4.8. Not a whole lot of buying pressure has stepped in on Tesla yet. It is a little more on the outskirts of that big 7. So it's still going to be hit quite hard by a lot of those tariffs. I know Elon Musk talked about that last week. He still imports a lot of his goods from China, so he will be getting hit quite hard on some of these tariffs. We do have P&G sitting down 1.32. We have Microsoft sitting down 2.73. We've got Google down 1.99, so quite a bit of buying pressure has stepped in on Google. It was down almost 6% about an hour ago. We've also got Meta sitting down 2.63. So pre-market looking quite bloody so far. Has seen a little bit of some relief coming in. We will kind of have to see if that continues though. On the crypto side of things, everything's extremely red. You come in here, you've got Bitcoin sitting down 6.5% on that daily. You've got Ethereum down a whopping 15.4%. You've got XRP down 13.8. You've got BNB down 7.3. Solana down a whopping 14.5%. You've got Tron down 4.9, Dogecoin down 14.2, Cardano down 12.5, Leo token trying to remain a little resilient as it is a token on an exchange, has a lot of money moving into it, but it is still down 1.9 on that daily. You've got TON down 9.2. You've got Chainlink down 13.8. Stellar Lumens down 11.8. Avalanche down 8.6. Shiba Inu down 9.2. You've got SWI down 14% right now. OM remaining a little resilient, is sitting down 2.2, HBAR down 12.1, and to wrap out that top 20, we've got Polkadot down 12%. We'll kind of have to see if this hourly plays out a little bit, because we are seeing a little bit of some upside action on that hourly. Let's hop over to that fear and greed. And as you can see here, the stock market is sitting at 4, an extreme fear. There's not a whole lot lower to go down on that fear and greed meter for the stock side of things. And I did see the first news article popping up about whether or not they will end up halting trading on some of these stocks. They've done it before, especially when you see very, very bloody markets. It kind of allows for things to cool off, bring a little more cooler heads to prevail on the stock side of things. They're allowed to do that, just close the markets down. Hey, everyone, let's talk to you. Everything's not as scary as you think it is. But for now, we will continue to see the sell-off on TradFi. We've got the crypto side of things back in extreme fear, down 11 points and sitting at 23. Not too surprising considering we have broken key levels on Bitcoin to the downside. We will dive into that one once we get that chart pulled up. You can kind of see here on this 24-hour chart, we've got some liquidity back to the top side, sitting above some key areas I had talked about. So looking like we've turned that $81,000 back into some resistance here as we bumped up against it. We created a little bit of a liquidity grab at about $79,500. Zoom this on out. Let's skip past that 3-day real quick. As you can see, it's a back up at that top side resistance. We had talked about wanting to turn into some support here. Zoom that back on out to that 2-week. You can kind of see here that things are starting to look pretty spicy back to the upside. Looking at 89,100 for that top side, ranging all the way down to about 88,670. So quite a broad range of liquidity to the top side for that 2-week. But it looks like the real hotspot of interest, which I've been talking about for about the past month and a half now, is going to be that downside action. We are extremely close to it right now. We've got $72,000 sitting right below us. We've started to grab liquidity in that $70,000 zone. We've got a bit lower than that at 64 to 65,000. We'll kind of have to see if we go and grab that as well. We do end up going to grab that. I think we might just continue heading to the downside. You might see a little bit of some top side action to clear out some of that liquidity at about that $90,000 mark. But I do think it is just the pattern of making lower highs, especially with how the macro is looking on the economic state of things. Downside is going to be continuing for quite a while. Let's hop over to that economic calendar for this week. Got that all pulled up. We do see some heavy data coming out of the US this week. We do have some light data at the beginning. Used car sales prices month over month and year over year. Not a big market mover, but something to keep in mind is that those used cars might be seeing a little bit more buying pressure coming in, especially with the prices that we'll be seeing on new cars. You've already seen news articles starting to come out about how the auto industry will be handling these 25% tariffs. You've got a Fed chair speaking at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. You also have a little bit later in the day coming out of Australia, the Westpac Consumer Confidence Change. That will be the big market mover for the Asia time frame. Nothing too big coming out of the United States today. We do have a little bit heavier data coming out in the middle of the week. We will kind of have to dive into that one as we get further into the week, though. We've got Fed Daily speaking tomorrow, and basically nothing else for Tuesday. We'll kind of have to dive into the rest of that heavy data a little bit later in the week, though. I see Jay, Quick Smoker, in the chat saying evening from Australia. Everyone, daylight savings got the show starting an hour earlier for me. Yeah, we hit daylight savings last month, so you're now catching back up to our time frame there. I've been pushing the show just a little bit earlier. It was running at that 6:30 Eastern time. Was running at that 7:30 Eastern time. We're now running at 6:30 Eastern time. We've got Joel Vasquez in the chat dropping that otter, saying good morning, good morning, good morning to you. I'll drop some otters in the chat for you. We've got Crypto Princess in the chat. Good morning to you. Apparently, it will be her first live stream today. So I will try to catch that. I will be at work, though. So no promises. I might just make a quick slide by to say hello in the chats. We've got Crypto Billy in the chat. Good morning to you. I see Rashad in here as well. Good morning to you, Rashad. We've got Donato Cabrera, as always. Good morning to you, sir. We've got JR in the chats. Good morning. And we've got Jay Violet and Kyle Fields in here as well. I guess Jesse's catching up on some sleep there. He is not in the chats this morning. All right, let's hop into this Bitcoin chart. As you can see, we got a little bit of a bounce at this golden pocket here. I've talked about that quite heavily, being that next point to really look for a bouncing if we ended up breaking below our CME gap, which we did this past weekend, and it looks like we're getting a little bit of a move back to the bottom side of our CME gap here, but this daily looking like we've got plenty of room to continue to the downside, as your volume has just switched from green to red on the daily. Your True 7 is now at a point where it's going to start clipping out. We've got money flow continuing to the downside here, printing our first red candles here on our MACD with a break of our MACD line to the bottom side of our indicator line here on the daily. So quite a lot of bearish signals here on the daily. That doesn't mean you won't see a little bit of some bouncing action, but the macro is looking more to the downside here. You've got another little level in the middle of that platinum pocket and the golden pocket, which I've talked about quite a bit. That's that 71,800 range. I will get that marked out here for next week. That's that liquidity zone that I have a little bit of a limit order set at. There was about $100 million sitting in that range, so I'll get that drawn out for y'all tomorrow. It is sitting right here on the charts. We've got a nice little bouncing area, which we could move to the upside back to retest that golden pocket if we end up breaking below it. Let's zoom that on in. Take a look at that 4 hour, see where we're sitting there. As you can see here, we see a nice green candle right off of this golden pocket. We're getting a little bit of some curvature to the upside here on that prime oscillator. Let me zoom it on in so you can get a better view of that. Got some oversold signals starting to flash here. No reversal signal flashing just yet. Volume continuing in the red as this prime oscillator is getting that swoop back to the upside here. You do see that True 7 clipping out just a little bit here, which might bode well for a push back into this CME gap, which we're struggling to get into this morning. You did see a brief move inside of it before we really got pushed back below the bottom side of that CME gap. This will be a giant range to try to get back into. You have plenty of resistance back up here at that 79,300 mark, where you really saw a strong wicking action to the downside off of. That will be our next real resistance area here if we break into our CME gap. Let's zoom this back in so you can get that more bold time frame look here. You've got your MACD getting that curvature back to the upside here, but it's not very heavy just yet. It is just some sideways action, which does bode well if we continue to get this slow up on our selling pressure for a slight move to the upside here. This 77,300 range is going to be a very strong area to get back above, though. You will need to kind of turn this into some strong support. That's the bottom side of our old CME gap. As you can kind of see here, we just wicked below it before and really pushed back out of our CME gap. Now it looks like the CME gap is more of a resistance area instead of a support area to hold Bitcoin's price action up. Let's zoom this on in to the hourly here. As you can kind of see, we're getting a little bit toppy on the prime oscillator as you've got plenty of money flow coming on out of Bitcoin. Your volume is starting to pick back up as some selling volume as we try to heat up this oscillator just a bit here. You've got a divergence that is yet to really play out, which is part of the reason that I think we get back up to this key resistance area at about 79,300. See if we can really have that slow up of some of this selling volume here as the True 7 was clipping out on that 4 hour, waiting for that to clip out on the daily. You're looking for your MACD line to cross our indicator line here on the bottom side. Looks like it's going to do it with a bit of some sideways movement, though. That's really what we'd be looking for as we try to cool this oscillator back off, allow this selling pressure to kind of come on out. But if these markets are going to open up extremely red, then I'd look for the same thing to kind of happen on Bitcoin. We did see a little bit of relief in the pre-market this morning as everything was sitting down 5%, and now it's just sitting down at that 2% range in the pre-market. So Bitcoin also seeing that bit of buying pressure come in, unable to really get us back up above our key resistance here on the bottom side of our CME gap, though. We'll kind of have to see how sideways this break is of our MACD line above our indicator line, which might allow for some more sideways movements below our CME gap and our golden pocket here to try to push back in to the CME gap with some strong movements to the upside. You've got that 79,300 being that really strong resistance area here. Let's zoom that on in to the 15-minute and see what the morning is bringing our way. And this is why I do think we see a bit of some ranging action here. You've got that prime oscillator getting that curvature back to the downside here. As our money flow is looking to roll over, volume not holding up quite well on that 15-minute as it is getting that bit of some curvature here, and you're seeing that first little bit of reversal signals ready to flash. You've got this first green arrow here showing a bit of a top side indicator. So that peak seeker print in there. You've got your MACD line also getting some heavy curvature as we've started to print our first light green candle. You zoom that on in. It doesn't really look like it's getting that curvature, but you zoom that on out so you can kind of get that better view. Your MACD line is really getting that sideways movement here as your indicator line has really slowed up on that same upside movement. I had to really zoom that on in so you could see those candles are starting to slow down as well here on the MACD, indicating we might just see a little bit of ranging movement back down to that golden pocket and at 74,254. If we end up breaking that level, I'd look all the way back down. Let's actually just get that level drawn out now, where we see a bunch of that liquidity horizontal line. There we go. That liquidity was sitting right here, 71,800. That will be, let's draw it green so we know that that's a buying area. There is a lot of liquidity sitting at this area here at 71,800, and that's right where I've got a limit order set. That doesn't mean that I think the downside is over at that price point. It was just a price point that I thought would be a good buying level, even if we are continuing to the downside. I see Jesse Gluck in here. Good morning, sir. We all thought you were getting some sleep there. He says, currently at work, I'm off sooner than expected. Well, there we go. We got Crypto Bedell in the chat. Good morning to you. Let's see, Jay Quick Smoker, JR, I was short for 14 hours, then long the bottom to go against the fear. Same exciting, says JR. Well, y'all, that's a very nice catch there. I was sleeping in this morning. I had a very long weekend, so I missed out on that bouncing action. I was also at like 2 o'clock in the morning, so that's like an hour before me. I would have caught it somewhere around there where I get back from the gym. We got Jay Quick Smoker saying it's nearly 9 p.m. for me, so about to put the kids to bed. Then I should be ready to watch Alex O. Well, I hope you have a good evening there, sir. Get those kids put to bed. It is that's past my bedtime there. I go to bed at like 8 p.m. We've got the Dusty Hunt in here saying Free Money Monday. Yep, I am going to be doing a little bit of buying this week all over again. You know, I know Crypto Billy has a great video for after the show. Touches on that DCA, you know, as these tariffs have been shaking the markets out. Not a bad time to really buy. Everything has been looking quite red, and I've been accumulating quite slowly. Been doing a few DCAs in the week. Instead of just doing one, I've been doing two and just spacing them out. Doing one on Tuesday and doing one on Thursday. It's not a big DCA, but they are it's doubling up on my normal DCA. I can tell you this giver is going to gain massively buying up these prices. A gold nugget that's popping up on our path, and I'm picking it up. Most definitely. That's why I had a limit order set back at 71.8 from February when I sold out. So yeah, 71.8 was a very big area I was looking for, and I think we continue to the downside on that. Let's see. I think I saw an alt request there. We got link requested. Any other requests we got for the day? Go ahead and drop those in the chat for me. Got plenty of time to look at some assets. I did have one news article. Kind of touched on some of that as we broke to the bottom side of that CME gap. This is that area that this article is really talking about. We've got Bitcoin breaks long-term support as prices slide below 76,000 on tariff jitters. Bitcoin dives under $76,000. The price of Bitcoin declined about 3% early Monday morning. Now a little bit more than that, extending losses from the weekend to a total of 10%. A Bitcoin was going for around 76,000, hitting pre-election levels and cracking through both long-term and short-term support area. The slide was part of a broader crypto market rout, which was part of an even broader global stock market sell-off. U.S. President Donald Trump late on Sunday triggered a run for the exits when he indicated he's not backing out of his dangerous game of tariffs, which threatens to complicate just about everything out there. Crypto hates uncertainty. Speaking to journalists aboard Air Force One on his way back from a weekend of golfing, Trump said, "Sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something," while he was addressing the violent stock pullback. The same could be felt across the crypto space. Tariffs are bound to hurt growth and knock spending. Ether felt the pain too. Crypto, being the riskiest class of them all, doesn't really thrive in times of uncertainty, confusion, or recession. And that's what analysts warn is coming to the U.S. if Trump's tariffs get cracking. Bitcoin support zones. Back to Bitcoin. The short-term support that was just broken was the recent bottom on March 11th, which failed to provide any cushioning. Long-term, Bitcoin just exited a rising channel with previous points of connection being September 6th and August 5th. How long is this uncertainty going to last? No one really knows. Trump's rationale isn't the most consistent, so any changes on the plan could come at any time. What should you do then? Brace for these times the right way. Try to reduce risk and keep panic away. And that's why here at the Piper Academy, we've been sitting on some profits for quite a while and been preaching to y'all about restarting that DCA strategy. I know we've got a DCA plan that we've been preaching for quite a while, and I've been following it, and I've stretched my buying out a little bit. I don't do it all on the same day. If it's that 3 times, I do my normal DCA on Tuesday, and then I do 2 more DCAs in the week. So it'd be like Thursday and Friday. So a little bit of a different way to catch that exposure instead of just doing it all on that same day, especially since everything's been some downside action. You know, maybe Friday you get that better price than you did on your normal Tuesday DCA. So that's why I've kind of stretched it out like that. I still do my 3 times DCA on that DCA strategy though, especially weeks like this where you'll be seeing some data coming out that might push things a little bit lower. I see Sol requested and Ada requested and Jasmine as well. I know y'all are not going to be happy looking at these altcoins. I'm just going to put it out there now. Everything is quite ugly, and that's no different on some of these altcoins. I was going to take a look at gold because just like the rest of the markets, gold saw some downside action too, which is quite a nice little cool off area for gold to see. We'll get a new Fibonacci extension drawn up because, you know, as these other markets are unsure, gold still has that nice strong surety on it. Let's get that. Let's get this redrawn out here. We've got our highs to the, we've got our low to the high to the low here. So low to the high to our new low all the way down here below that area I was looking at. And as you can kind of see here, price action is sitting right at that 382 waiting for a bounce. All right, you can kind of see once we get back above that 382, things will start looking quite strong on some of these oscillators as well. You've got your MACD looking for some curvature to the upside as it's broken to the bottom side of that indicator line here, but it's doing it with some sideways movement. You do have your prime oscillator already starting to see that cool off as you do have some selling volume, but your money flow is maintaining in the green here. So seeing a little bit of a cool off on those oscillators as we try to get back up to that 382. Got a nice strong zone back above that 50% line, which we would probably see as some resistance here. Zoom that on in to the hourly, see what we're looking at there so you can kind of see what the day is bringing our way. Let's get that zoomed on out and moved on down so you can kind of see those levels just a little bit better there. You are printing some green candles here on the MACD. Let's get that moved over as well. Got that MACD starting to print some very strong green candles here as our MACD line got a break to the upside on our indicator line. Still waiting for that break above 0 though. Is doing it quite slowly here as we've ranged sideways below this 382 for a little while now. Just seeing that nice strong sideways movement as we cooled those oscillators off on our higher term time frame. We did see that all-time high on gold, so seeing that cool off is definitely expected. I talked about that last week before we had even hit that all-time high. I told you all that all-time high was coming, and then to watch for a little bit of a cool off, and we've got some nice strong cool off here. You do see your volume holding quite steady as some buying volume here on that hourly, but your money flow is in the red, so the opposite of that daily, trying to cool off that 1 hour as we try to get that movement back to the top side. I see XRP requested, got XRP added on that list there. Let's see what we're looking at for that top side on gold, because we do have this golden pocket which will come into play all over again. That's $3,075 and $75. Let's get that zone we were looking at holding up as some support here. Once we got that break to the downside, I was not expecting quite a harsh sell-off on gold. I was expecting it to be a little bit slower there. We do see this 50% line on our fib extension being a little bit of a resistance area to get back above. That's going to be $3,055. Looks like we might get back up to that today and really see if we see that push back it down to 382 before we really push back up to that golden pocket. I do think that will be some of the price action we see this week as markets push back into gold at these ranges and try to push gold up a little bit higher. We did see that Dixie also seeing a little bit of some downside action as well, sitting right above a key area I had talked about wanting to hold here. That was that area I thought we might see turn into a little bit of some support as we broke back into our Fibonacci's. This was the one line of our Fibonacci. We didn't end up breaking all the way back down to our platinum pocket here, but as we turn this at 103.18 into some resistance here, and our MACD is getting that curvature back to the downside. Prime oscillator looking a little bit sideways here as our money flow continues to come out on the Dixie. It does look like that platinum pocket and 162 is going to become coming back into play. We haven't been at these levels in quite a while, and might indicate some more downside action on some of your risk on assets as well. Let's hop over some of these alt requests. We've got about 30 minutes. We had XRP requested, and apparently I had XRP pulled up from last week here. You can kind of see XRP really got that last little pushback into our fair value gap we had drawn out for quite a while. It was closed. We tried to get back up to the top side of it, and then really rejected quite hardly. We did get that nice bounce on the golden pocket as well, quite like Bitcoin there. It does look like you do see some continued downside action on the daily here, starting to print bigger red candles. You got your prime oscillator getting that curvature back to the downside. True 7 starting to clip out though, so if you can get back above some of these key levels here at about $1.90, that would be a little bit of a bullish area to get back above. It will depend a lot on Bitcoin's price action though, especially with how the macro is looking like that might be a bit of a resistance area as Bitcoin turned that CME gap into some resistance here as well. You've got the 4 hour looking quite like Bitcoin's did with that curvature back to the upside. True 7 clipping out. You got your oversold signals. Your volume is selling volume here, waiting for money flow to really come back in as a True 7 clips out. Your prime oscillator getting that curvature back to the upside, but still looking quite red when doing so. You've got your MACD also getting that sideways movement here, and your indicator line getting that sideways movement as well. So to really see us range here would be another thing to kind of watch for. You've got this golden pocket to really hold us up. I would have to zoom back out sideways to see. It looks like yep, that last ditch wick effort that we had seen back in this arranging is kind of that area which we're trying to get back above. Let's get that drawn out there. That's kind of right where price action is right now. Let's make that a little bit thicker so we can kind of see where it's sitting there. That's that 179, and it's that area we're bumping against right now on XRP. And it'll be a very strong battle area for XRP if we can get back into this range and try to push back to the upside. You've got 190 being a strong resistance area as well. Now you are seeing that 1 hour getting a little bit of a push to the upside as well as Bitcoin was. You've got that prime oscillator sitting green. You've got your MACD looking to break to the top side of our indicator line as we're printing some light red candles on our histogram, waiting for money flow to kind of slow up. You've got very strong selling volume in this range, so might be looking for a little bit of some ranging action between that 179.40 and 190 here as we try to cool off some of these oscillators. Let's see what that 15-minute in the morning are bringing our way. You do see us looking a little bit toppy here. You've got plenty of buying volume here. True 7 running quite sideways, so looking for a bit of some ranging action. MACD looking like it's trying to get that pushback above our zero line here as we're still printing green candles on our histogram. So we'll kind of have to see if we can get back above this 179 and hold it as some support here. It does look like it's a little bit of a resistance zone, but we have broken above it, so trying to hold that as some support as we get that waffling around on either side of it this morning. Let's see what else was on that list there. We got Jasmine and Ada and Soul and Link. I see All Set in the chat. Good morning to you. And I see Duality C as well. Arsan saying ETH been disappointing. Yes, sir, it has. You know, I'm not too sad to hear about it. I'm not the biggest fan of Ethereum, but Ethereum's got a lot built on top of it, which will kind of hold it up as price gets a little bit to the downside. It also bodes quite nicely for the utility case. You are now able to use Ethereum a little bit cheaper, so all these projects built on top of Ethereum get to do so a little bit cheaper. We see Black Monday, says Fast Car Sexy. Yes, it is definitely looking like a little bit of a Black Monday. Definitely a nice little range to buy. You know, I'm not saying you should go all in or anything. I'm just saying maybe like dip your little pinky toe in the waters just a little bit if you haven't been buying in the ranges on the way down. We've got Link requested. Let's hop over to that one. Sitting at 1070, 1080 here, trying to maintain this platinum pocket as support. Let's zoom that on out to the daily. See where we got that wick in action. Was below that platinum pocket here. You've got your MACD and prime oscillator looking quite the same as the rest of everything. But unlike some of these other ones where you're starting to see some reversal signals starting to flash, Link does not have that just yet. So True 7 starting to clip out on the daily, really waiting on some reversal signals to start flashing here. MACD crossing our indicator line with some strength as we print bigger and bigger red candles on our histogram here. So waiting for the downside action. I had talked about $8.16 being a strong area to look for on Link. We do see that wicking action down there when we got our nice break back below our platinum pocket. Trying to maintain that platinum pocket now. You have a bit of a range here above that platinum pocket, which $11.86. Let's get that level drawn out. That will be our next big area to really see us look at some resistance on. Let's get those other lines off the chart now, since we are well below all of that there, and not looking for those prices anytime soon. That's also where you see these very equal candles from back here on the top side of this range. You can kind of see all these equal candles from here. That's right where that price action is running from that wick before we got that push back up to our golden pocket here. So looking left to look right, we do see $11.82 being a strong resistance area for Link. Let's zoom this on in to the hourly, see what the day might be bringing our way. Looking like you might see a little bit of some bouncing action. No different than we were looking at Bitcoin and XRP, looking for a bit of some topside action where we see this strong resistance at $11.88, and then we'd look back down to the downside here. You might see a little bit of some ranging action here as well. Instead of it being with the golden pocket, we're looking at that being with the platinum pocket here. So looking like you've got that divergence here on Link as well as our indicator, as our MACD line is breaking that indicator line. And we saw those oversold signals start to play out with some topside action. True 7 still looking quite red though, so that'll be our next real barrier to get above. We're printing our first green candle here on the histogram on the hourly, seeing what that 15-minute is bringing our way. Looking a little bit toppy here as well. Green volume, we've got your prime oscillator sitting green, but getting that curvature back over. MACD also getting that curvature back over, as we're printing lighter green candles on our histogram here as well. So looking for a little bit of some ranging action, trying to hold this platinum pocket up as support. That's $10.64, which we might see some continued bouncing action at for the morning. That was a Link. Let's hop over to Solana. I know that one was quite battered, and we're sitting below a key level I had talked about. You know, I talked about 106.51 on Solana. We got a little bit of some bouncing action at that range before we broke back below it, broke above it to try to hold it as some support, and then lost it quite heavily. I guess we'll have to zoom this boy out all the way. Let's take a look. Solana, oh, that's the micro range there. Let's try to see what our macro fib retracement is looking like, because we're breaking all these key levels on Solana. Let's just pull that up from the lows to the high there. We got the low. Let's scroll it on down so we can actually get that high in there as well. Geez, that's quite a nice range for Solana. Looking like we're losing some of the key levels though. We got the low back here to the high up here, and looking like Solana also lost that golden pocket. All right, let's zoom that on in. Make sure we got that downside hit on the price action. Oh, looking like we gotta move that up just a little bit. There we go. There was the low. There was the low before the high, and pretty sure I got that high pinned on that top side. All right, let's get that. Oh, Control Z there. Let's get that locked before we end up moving things around. All right, zoom that on in. And Solana's breaking to the bottom side of that golden pocket. We did get that nice rejection off of the 123 I had talked about last week. That was an area we were looking for some support. We did lose 130 quite heavily as well. That was that next area I was looking for. And we're now sitting below 106.51. Let's look left to look right. We've got our platinum pocket being that next real strong support area. If we can get back above 106.51, looks like we might range here in between 95 and 106 for a little bit. You've got some very strong support right below at about 92 as well. Let's get that horizontal drawn out there. That's where you see several bounces off of 92.78. So this looks like the nice next ranging area for Solana is going to be between about $92 and 106 here. It's a very skinny range between our golden pocket and our platinum pocket there. You've got very, very strong resistance and buying pressure here below 92. I don't think it maintains that over the macro, though, especially with some of the data we'll be seeing with that FOMC minutes coming out on Thursday. That will be the 9th. I know we teased some of the heavy data coming out this week, but here's the rest of that. Here's that the rest of the teaser. Got those FOMC minutes, some inflation data coming out as well on Thursday, and then Friday, that Michigan consumer sentiment and PPI. I know Piper will break down that data for you a little bit more. I wanted to save that for the middle of the week, and once we got a little bit closer to that, because I think the real talk for the beginning of this week is the price action. I do think there is continued a downside, or at least a ranging sideways action, as we try to cool off some of these oscillators and wait for some of these heavy data drops. You do see the daily looking quite similar on Solana, breaking to the bottom side of our indicator line here, printing very red candles on our histogram. Prime oscillator also looking quite red. True 7 has not clipped out on Solana yet, as that volume and money flow are looking to roll over on the daily. You've got that 1 hour looking quite similar as the rest of the market. That MACD line breaking to the top side of our indicator line here, but still looking quite bearish as we continue to print red candles, looking like a little bit of a slow up on that selling pressure, though, as your volume is starting to increase, but it looks like your money flow might roll over here. So as I said, some ranging action, looking like you might see that 92 before you see that 106.51, though, especially with how that prime oscillator is rolling over at the same time that your money flow and volume are kind of increasing on that selling pressure. Let's zoom that on in to the 15 minutes, see what the morning was bringing our way. And that's where you see that heavier curvature on Solana, on the MACD, and our prime oscillator here with a peak seeker already printed here, and that prime oscillator going from green to red as money flow continues to come out, and that buying volume has slowed up already. So look for that bottom side on Solana before you really look for that top side 106.51. All right, we had ADA requested as well. Looking quite ugly for ADA as well. I see Redmond in the chat. Good morning to you. I see Arsan246. Good morning. I see Poyo in the chat. Wait, am I seeing that right? Cluck. Let's scroll it on up. I do not have it on live chat. Let's see. Switch that to live chat. Oh, yep, I see Crypto Pollo in there. Cluck to you. Good morning, sir. Hope you're having a great day so far. It gets kind of hard. I have to zoom my window all the way out because I've got my screen split up in 4, and it gets a little bit hard to see everything sometimes. I'm going to try. Falls right during Fiat MTG. I'm going to try to make it. I wonder what that one was. Oh, he said that was the Crypto Princess live stream. First live stream today. I don't have a link to that, so if someone could drop that link in the chat for me, it would be greatly appreciated. I will have to get some links all set up for Crypto Princess. I've been slacking. It's been a busy weekend. All right, let's get ADA pulled up here. It has been sitting at some very key levels as well. Got that pushback above our platinum pocket, so looking a little more sold off than some of these other assets were as well. Got J Violet dropping that link. I appreciate you, J Violet. looking like that prime oscillator is also getting that heavy curvature just like Solana was. Let's zoom this on out to the daily though, see what we're looking at there, because 45 cents was a level I had talked about on ADA. If we broke below a bunch of these key levels, looking like you've got very, very strong support here at about 50 cents. So an area to try to hold for ADA, but looking like you might lose that because look how big these candles are on the histogram here, as our MACD line is strongly breaking to the bottom side of our indicator line here. Try to get that last ditch effort towards the indicator line, and unlike some of these other projects, didn't really hold up quite nicely to bounce off of it. It just got closer and then rejected to the downside. Got your prime oscillator also looking for some downside, but your true 7, unlike on Solana, has already clipped out here on the daily. That doesn't mean there won't be some more downside action for ADA, but it does bode well for a bit of a strong push to the upside. You've got 57 cents being a strong resistance area for ADA now, where you might see some ranging action below this platinum pocket, above this platinum pocket, and 57 cents. If we end up losing this platinum pocket, which it looks like we might with that wicking action and how the daily's looking there, I would look all the way back down to bear market levels and some 45 cent ADA. You did get that was the top side of our price action before we really saw all of that 30 cent ADA all over again. So key level to kind of hold up on ADA would be a nice level to not get below. We'll kind of have to see how that plays out, though. Let's get that 4-hour drawn out. As you can see here, we've got a nice green candle right at that platinum pocket here, getting that curvature back to the upside. Not seeing a reversal signal flashing here as our volume is decreasing, but it is becoming some selling volume here. True 7 has clipped out, looking for a little bit of some upside action on both the prime oscillator and the MACD here, but going to really see that 57 be a strong resistance area. You might get above it a little bit before you really see that downside action come back into play, though. All of this kind of is a fair value gap. We'll get this all drawn out for you for tomorrow, because I was quite busy and didn't get a chance to look at the charts much this weekend. I had to work on my car. So let's get this zoomed on in. Take a look at that 15-minute, see what the morning is bringing our way here before we hop over to Jasmy. You see that 15-minute getting that curvature as it has broke above our 0 line. MACD and indicator line still looking for a little bit of some upside here, so trying to see if we can get back up to that 57 cents. We do have some selling action right above us at 55 cents. That'll be that next real area to get above. We saw all of this wicking action. We'll get that drawn out here. All this wicking action here, make it a little thinner so you can see that it's a short-term resistance area that we would need to get above. Might look for that resistance coming into call at 55 cents, which would push us back down to the platinum pocket, though. 15-minute looking a little bit toppy there. We got Jasmy requested as well, so let's get that one pulled up, and I think that's going to be the last asset we get to take a look at for the morning. I'm pretty sure I got Jasmy on my list all the way down here. Not in my favorites. There it is. It's in my extras. Jasmy getting extremely battered down. Let's zoom this on out to the daily. I do have a big macro fib. We are below that platinum pocket, looking quite ugly on Jasmy there. You did see as a break below that platinum pocket with some strength, so not looking too pretty for Jasmy. You do have a bit of an area to the downside, which you might see some bouncing action at. It was the highs before we really got rejected for the strong bounce to the upside. Let's get that drawn out as a little bit thicker so you can see where that bouncing action might come to call for Jasmy. You do see your MACD looking like it just broke to the downside of our indicator line here. You've got your prime oscillator extremely battered down, as it's been maintaining to the bottom side since about February here. So extremely battered. Jasmy continuing to see some downside action. True 7 clipped out just a little bit here, but as you see here, it clipped out, saw more downside action, clipped out, saw more downside action. It's clipping out now as our prime oscillator just switched from light red to heavy red. Selling it has been increasing here as it just went from some green buying volume to some red selling volume here. So very battered down Jasmy. After it lost the golden pocket, it continued to lose things with some strength. Let's zoom this on in to the hour, see what the morning might be bringing our way. Looking like you see a little bit of some upside potential here on the hourly, but not too much upside pressure there. Let's get that MACD moved down so you can see that a little bit better. Breaking to the top side of our indicator line, but it's looking a little bit sideways as it does so. If you move that a little more sideways there you go, getting that better view. It is breaking that indicator line to the top side, but doing it in quite a sideways fashion here. Let's zoom this on in. Seeing our first green candle on our histogram here. Volume starting to increase, but it's some selling volume increasing as we're getting a little bit of a rollover here on our prime oscillator, and True 7 starting to move quite sideways here. You'll have a bit of a range to the top side there at about 00938, which I would look at being some resistance if we get that move to the upside. You can see all of this support there before you really get that last ditch push to the top side. Looking like you're seeing a bit of a V-shape recovery here, which would top out at that 0093803 before we see that continued downside action. That's where 0074245 might come back into play for Jasmy. That's those highs before we really saw that strong push to the upside. Jasmy is extremely battered down, especially on that high term time frame. So looking for some continued selling pressure. Like Solana here on that 15-minute, you are getting that rollover. Prime oscillator switch from green to red. True 7 just went from green to red. Your volume is starting to slow up on that buying volume, so getting quite exhausted. Also have that strong resistance area right to the top side at 00906. Let's get that drawn out there. That'd be that strong resistance area right to the top side. Let's make it a little bit thinner so we know it's short term. This is that strong resistance area to the top side of us, which if we get that last ditch effort push to the top side, would look 0090720 before we really reject back down. You do have some strong support down here at about 0084224. So trying to see if we can maintain those levels there. That's where you got some nice weekend action. You got these very equal candle bodies above there as well, 0084869. So looking for a few areas to hold to the bottom side. Got Crypto Billy saying, back in December, Piper pointed out those Fred reports. I jumped into them and found some gems. I decided to pull the trigger and pulled 100% out of equities, hence no sell-off pain. +1 Piper. And yep, He was talking about that back in December. I started talking about it in January as I saw all of those topping signals come to play. I was hoping for a secondary top that was higher than our 109 that we saw in Bitcoin. Didn't see it, so I clicked that sell button shortly after Piper did. So I haven't been feeling much of this pain either. The Piper Academy tries to do our best. We've been warning about all of this macroeconomic data for quite a while here, and if you haven't been paying attention, you are feeling this pain. If you have been paying attention, then you might be a little bit safe, and you've been DCAing, and you've been buying some really nice levels that no one thought we were gonna see. You hop into the rest of the space, and people weren't talking about $72,000 Bitcoin. They were talking about $124,000 Bitcoin, which it looks like we might not see this cycle. I'm just going to be honest here. All those crazy, wild upside targets everyone talked about, not happening. Not happening at all. But it is 6:30 and time to wind that show down. I hope you all have an amazing Monday. I hope you are all prepared, because that DCA strategy is going to be dropping here in about 30 minutes. So make sure to keep your eyes out on that for the upperclassmen. We've got that morning market report at 10 a.m. We've got trading with OC at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We got markets after dark at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And I will see y'all at the morning motivational video in just a second. We will redirect directly over to that, and then I'll see y'all at Alex O Crypto. Y'all have an amazing morning. Make sure to wake up, because today's going to be a good day.